Hey, welcome back to Outside with Sarge. We are out in the Endor Forest today. We got another story from the road. I want you to hear this one because this has to be probably one of the most satisfying citations I've ever written in my career. It involves adult films, it involves lollipops, it involves a sugar daddy, and it involves public safety. Stick around. Yeah, so that Star Wars movie was filmed right where we're hiking today. But let's get into this story from the road because we've got a lot of hiking yet to do. So this story was, it's older, I will say, because again, this was one of the most satisfying tickets I've ever written in my career. And this time I was assigned to a pretty metropolitan area, a lot of cars, a lot of money. And on this occasion I was patrolling and I happened to notice a vehicle in front of me, and then there was like 5 or 6 lanes of freeway. But I noticed this car, it stood out to me because not only were they kind of going slow and then fast and then slow and fast, but they're also weaving around in their lane. So obviously, being a proactive public servant, it caught my attention, and that was what launched this investigation. So I got closer to where this vehicle was, and as I did, sure enough, I noticed that the driver was watching adult videos. Not only did he have one TV in there, not 2 TVs, not even 3 TVs or 4 TVs, there was 5 TV screens playing this one adult video. When I say adult video, you didn't have to use your imagination very much to realize exactly what type of film or video the guy was watching. So here's some context for you. Anybody driving nearby, whether it be a child, whether it be, anybody really, or a proactive police officer, could clearly see what this guy was watching while he was driving. And in that moment, I realized, wow, this explains a lot. It explains the fluctuating speed. It explains his inability to maintain his lane properly. And it also explains why traffic was slowing down. Because let's face it, with 5 screens going into the car, yeah, you can very well bet that some of the other drivers were noticing it as well. So I initiated the stop and he pulled over a little while later. So he pulls over and I get out and contact him. And as I always did, I stuck to my script, told him why I'd pulled him over, asked for his license, registration, and his proof of insurance. And to my surprise, he acted so shocked, like he was doing absolutely nothing wrong. Never mind that he was slowing up traffic, causing congestion. Never mind the fact that he was varying his speeds. Never mind he was kind of swerving in and out of his lane, obviously causing traffic next to him, those drivers to worry. But he was also simultaneously and ineffectively watching adult videos. Rhymes with pornography, and which was shocking to me. Also of note was the fact that he was sucking on this lollipop like he was being paid to do it or something. I mean, just from very motivated sucking on this lollipop. And as I was explaining to him how important it was to not watch these films while you're driving, I also added in the fact that it's illegal. All of which seemed to be missed on him. He missed all those points and still held the opinion that he was doing absolutely nothing wrong and that I was engaged in some type of victimization towards him. Absolutely fabulous. I mean, the situations you encounter as a police officer and the people's reactions to you doing your jobs never cease to amaze me. But what he told me next brought this to another level, for me at least. So I quickly realized I'm not getting anywhere with this guy. He was about 20 years old, something like that, maybe 19. And like I said, I realized none of my themes, none of my explanations are getting any footing with him. In other words, there's no part of him that seems to understand just why I pulled him over. Yes, Was my legal basis for contacting him? I mean, yes, I was perfectly within my rights to pull him over, but more than that, he was, I think, affecting the people that were traveling near him. No one wants to look into the car next to them and see these images. I won't go into too much detail, but suffice it to say, they were very, very graphic. Now, around this time, I noticed that some of my beat partners had arrived, which was great, because in my mind, I didn't really feel threatened by this guy, but on a comedic level, I was glad that these other officers were there to see what I was seeing, because it was, you know, it was kind of a pinpoint on my career map, if you will, in that I'd never pulled anybody over for watching pornography before. I'd pulled plenty of people over for watching TV or, you know, these things, but this was my first adult film encounter professionally. And so they arrived, and this kid told me something that I'll never forget, but it was so fitting of the area where I worked, because there's a lot of well-to-do people in this area. And he told me that he didn't care what I did to him, how many tickets I wrote him, because his dad was going to pay for everything. His dad was going to pay any fines. If it led to any type of incarceration, his dad is going to get him out. Daddy, 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 daddy. Daddy was going to fix everything. And so nothing I could do to him enforcement-wise was going to affect him in any way. So I made a plan, I returned back to my car, and this is why I say this is probably one of the most satisfying citations I've ever written. Stick around for what's next. Returned back to my patrol vehicle, and I was talking to my beat partners, and I told them what was going on, and they were pretty incredulous. They themselves couldn't believe it. And a few of them even walked up to the car just to confirm my story. And yeah, they did see what I saw. They were about as disgusted as I was. But then after finding out that he didn't have any warrants or anything, registration checked out. Sure enough, it was registered to old daddy, and began to write this ticket. What I did was I wrote him for unsafe speed, but not just unsafe speed. I wrote him for unsafe speed for watching adult films. I also wrote him for unsafe lane change for watching adult films. I wrote him for the fact that he had those TV screens visible to him, which is against the law, still is against the law. But instead of writing TV screens visible, I wrote TV screens visible watching pornography. And after, I guess, internally subsiding the chuckles, I returned back to the car, and there he was still, I mean, just with all sorts of motivation, sucking on this lollipop, and still had that kind of daddy's gonna take care of everything smirk on his face. And I told him in my very calm professional voice, here's your citation. I wrote you for your speed. I wrote you because you were unable to maintain your lane, and I wrote you because you had TV screens visible. And he assured me that he was not worried in the least. Daddy was going to take care of everything. I handed him my pen, I handed him the citation book, and the grin quickly faded from his lollipop sucking face when he read the citation and realized that this proactive officer had written the word that rhymes with pornography 3 times on his citation. The look on his face, that sense of daddy security, that sense that I have no worries in the world and I'm doing nothing wrong, it fled his face. And in its place was such a face of concern, not because he had broken the law, not because he realized had to come to Jesus moment that he had done something that was not in the community's best interest, but he was so concerned that daddy was going to see this citation and realize that his freeloading son was watching adult films on a major freeway and got contacted by me. That was his concern. And so he pled, he asked if I could take that off, and I assured him that I couldn't and I wouldn't. He signed the citation begrudgingly, and I sent him on his way after I made sure he turned off the TV screens. You would think that's the end of the story, and probably for most people that would be enough, but there's more. This story takes on a bit of a life of its own. You're going to want to hear this part. Now, yeah, I thought that was the end of the story. I turned in my citation and I thought maybe I'll never see this kid again, unless it was a courtroom setting or something. But that wasn't the case. Now, when I returned to the office, by then, most of the people, the other officers and office staff had heard about this infamous ticket, and a bunch of people wanted to see it to see if it was actually true. And unfortunately, it was all too true. And so, if I'm being honest, yeah, we enjoyed a round of chuckles at the office. And I turned in this ticket. Fast forward to, I don't know, maybe a week or so later, one of the office people leave a message for me. And it says, "Officer, we need you to call this number. It's a news station." Now, this wasn't too uncommon, because a lot of our stories are newsworthy and are of public interest. So I really didn't think anything, especially because this was about a week or so later. But when I called the number, on the other line was this news reporter, and she informed me that they were doing a story on public safety and had heard, who knows how this word had traveled, had heard about the citation that I wrote for this guy watching adult films while not driving very well, and asked me if I would be willing to do an interview to tell this story. Well, me, because I enjoy a good bit of humor, and it is an important public safety thing. I simply don't want people driving down the freeway watching adult films. No, there's a time and place for that. And one thing, let me back up. One thing on the citation that I wrote, you're supposed to write a safe speed. So let's say if somebody was putting on makeup or whatever they're doing, and you cite them for traveling at an unsafe speed for an activity, you're supposed to indicate what a safe speed would be. So I indicated that a safe speed for watching adult films was 0 miles per hour. And that was kind of one of the points of interest that this news lady had. She wanted me to explain the fact that 0 miles per hour was a safe speed to travel for watching adult films. In other words, the inference being that you should not be doing it while you're driving. And so again, getting back to the story, I was all too willing to record this interview with fervor, with comedy, with a dumb grin on my face, and with a sense of self-satisfaction for a job well done. And so I hung up, and she says, last thing she said to me was, "Okay, great. I just need to get some clearance from your agency, and then we'll schedule a time for the interview." So I hung up the phone with a big grin on my face, and I turn around, and who do I see? I see the beloved shift sergeant. And he's kind of got a bit of a grin on his face as well. I'm sure by this time he had heard about this story. And he looks at me and he tells me, "There's no way you're doing that interview." At that moment, I felt so let down, because I thought my moment in the sun describing my exploits on the job had fizzled out in one swipe of the sergeant's hand. So yeah, that interview never occurred. Apparently they did some other focus story for their safety related expose. And in hindsight, probably a few hours later, I realized, yeah, Old Sarge was right. He made the correct call. As much as it would have, as much as it would have given me satisfaction to tell this story and to describe in lurid detail the lollipop that was just being sucked away, the level of cockiness and assuredness that this guy had felt that Big Daddy was going to take care of all his problems, the images that are still in my head, unfortunately, all this would never come to light. Yeah, the Sarge made the right choice. He made the right decision to not let me do that interview. Sometimes in public service, that's what you do. You take the road that doesn't just kick a person when they're down. You take the road that leads to overall public safety. Yeah, and there it is, the story of one of the most satisfying citations I've ever written. Now, I never went to court on this, never saw that guy again. By now, he's got to be maybe in his late 30s. But yeah, good times on the beat, serving the public. We're going to explore the moon of Endor a little bit more. This is a wonderful, beautiful place. If you ever get the chance to come out here in good old California and explore this area, absolutely wonderful. Stories from the road, man, we've got a treasure trove of stories yet to come. We have more in our series of habits of highly effective first responders. Keep tuning in. I'd appreciate a like, a subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell so that you get a notification anytime we upload a new video. But for the time being, I encourage you all to get out there, do your best, show the public what we are capable of doing in their interest. Let's get outside, even if it's in the Endor Forest, and let's get that work done.